You're only as old as you feel. At least that's what people say. Of course, most of us feel about 100 by the end of a long Friday afternoon. But this popular expression only goes so far, right? Your average 80-year-old isn't all about the ice skating, and you won't find most grandparents whizzing down Main Street on a skateboard. The well-aged citizens in today's video are proof positive that age is just a number. From soaring from massive heights to breaking world records. Without further ado, here are the top 10 people who refuse to get old. Doris Long. Acrophobia, or fear of heights, is one of the most common phobias across the world, and with good reason. Humans can't fly. But there are those who seem to have skipped that self-preservation gene. If you need proof, consider that rock climbing, parachuting, and hang gliding are surprisingly popular hobbies. Of course, most people participating in them are on the shorter side of 30. But Doris Long couldn't be bothered with silly things like age or fear. She took up architectural rappelling, basically hopping down the side of skyscrapers when she was 85 years old, and hasn't looked down since. At age 100, she rappelled the 557 feet down Spinnaker Tower in Portsmouth, England, setting the world record for the oldest person to rappel such a height. A record she broke by tackling the same building at age 103. But she wasn't doing any of this for fame or even the thrill. Over the years, her efforts raised thousands for charity. How amazing is that? Duan Xin-Fu. At age 60, Duan Xin-Fu was so stiff and sore he could barely walk. He couldn't touch his toes and had trouble just breathing. His advanced degradation was the direct result of working in a glass factory for 40 years. He was just about to resign himself to an uncomfortable retirement when he came across a group of people exercising in the park. He was so impressed by their flexibility that he decided to join them. Through breathwork, meditation, and careful, deep stretches, he was able to regain and even surpass the flexibility of his youth. When he was 78 years old, Duan was performing feats of athleticism those half his age couldn't dream of, and his energy was back. He's since gone on to inspire people of all ages to pursue their own health journeys. Duan is proof that it's never too late to better yourself. Ruth Flowers. Loud, pumping music and grinding bodies isn't exactly the thing we think of when we're talking about grandma. But for Ruth Flowers, known more famously as Mammy Rock, a good rave sounds like home. Born in England, she grew up in a musical family and was quite the singer herself. She enjoyed keeping busy and was an avid photographer, a mother, a wife, and an international traveler. She even spent some time living in New York City after her kids were grown. She returned home after her husband passed and, at 57, she completed the Berlin Marathon. But she didn't discover her true passion until she helped organize the music at her grandson's birthday party. The energy of it brought back her youth, and Ruth was hooked. She developed her own style after studying with several DJs. Her first gig was in 2009 for a group of celebrities, including the likes of Mariah Carey and Lenny Kravitz. She was 78 and she continued to rock it for another 5 years until her passing in May of 2014. Lloyd Kahn, the skateboarding grandpa. Lloyd Kahn spent his entire life moving forward. He fell in love with construction at age 12 and built his skills until he was practically a master. At age 25, he dipped into the world of insurance brokering, but that didn't last long. By 30, he had his own publishing company, a healthy appetite for exercise, and a blooming career ahead of him as an author. Over the next 3 decades, he wrote a dozen books on dome homes, tiny houses, and exercise. For most people, that would be enough, but not for Lloyd. At 65 years old, he decided it was time to try out a new activity. He picked up a skateboard and promptly fell and injured his hand. Got back up, packed on protective gear, and started rolling down what he called the gentle slopes of San Francisco. He said what drew him to the spot was the similarities to another favorite physical activity of his, surfing. He was still going strong at 81. Ida Keeling. The general consensus is that the older we are, the slower we get. But 103-year-old Ida Keeling doesn't have time for old age. After scraping through the Great Depression, struggling to raise a family in Harlem, and losing 2 of her sons to violence, Ida thought she was done. Thankfully, instead of watching her mother slip into depression, Ida's daughter brought her to a 5K. She was already 67 and she felt ridiculous at first. But on that day, her passion for running was born. In 2016, at the experienced age of 100, she set the world record for the 300-meter dash when she ran it in 1 minute and 17.33 seconds. In true Ida style, she celebrated this victory by dropping onto the track and doing push-ups. She went on to blow right through the previous 60-meter dash record, beating out others 40 years her junior, and continued setting records all over the world. Now that's a cool grandma. John Lowe. It might seem odd to those who've never tried it, but ballet is a ridiculously competitive sport. That goes doubly so for girls above the age of 10 and triply so for boys. But for someone of the male persuasion to start at age 80? That's practically unimaginable, and it's exactly what ballet dancer John Lowe did. After being inspired by one of his daughters, the father of 4 and grandfather to 11 decided one day that he was just going to do it. It took lots of work, including exercising between lessons, but after years of hard work, he managed it. John Lowe got on stage and danced for the first time at age 88 and was still dancing well into his 90s, though he says his family asked him to stop doing 360 spins when he turned 90. They were all afraid he'd fall down, but we think it's pretty safe to say this grandpa has it covered. Tao Porchon Lynch. When most people are 8 years old, they're most interested in pretending to be an astronaut or a fireman than finding their life's passion. But when Tao Porchon Lynch was 8, she was busy discovering her love for yoga. While that might sound like an odd hobby for a child to pick up, Tao took this passion and molded it into a lifelong career. Not only did her childhood love allow her to provide a stable living for herself and her family, but it also helped to keep her body fit well past the point that most would consider normal. At the age of 80, she was performing physical feats those a quarter of her age could only dream of. At the age of 100, she was happily still teaching 6 to 8 yoga classes a week and heading seminars across the globe. It's rare enough for humans to even live that long. She maintains that her vibrancy is the direct result of a clean, conscious lifestyle and strong connection with her inner self. Greta Pontarelli. Statistics show that somewhere around 1 in 2 women over the age of 50 will eventually suffer broken bones as a result of osteoporosis. Now, for most people, being diagnosed with brittle bones would be a pretty solid reason to take it easy. But for Greta Pontarelli, it was a perfect excuse to push herself more. She'd always enjoyed exercise, so it was only natural for the 61-year-old grandmother to decide that the remedy for her fragile bones was vigorous exercise. Of course, it simply wasn't in the cards for this grandma. Apparently, lifting weights was just too boring, so she decided to take up more vertical fitness. Just 3 years into her training, she won her first pole dancing championship. She went on to win 4 more by the age of 75. She's entered into competitions from London to Singapore, but says the real competition for her is in the mirror. Apparently, even international athletes have self-esteem issues. Yvonne Dowland. It's pretty safe to say that most of us are probably going to spend our old age enjoying a nice, relaxing, or at least quiet retirement. Yvonne Dowland, on the other hand, felt it was important to always at least stand on the ice every day. She started ice skating in her 20s when she signed up as an Ice Capades star and took to the challenging sport like a fish to water. When she wasn't skating herself, she was out there teaching kids how to skate. Most of us can barely get off the couch, but Yvonne made a point of getting up and out on the ice every day. Even when she got a serious concussion in a car accident at age 80, she worked hard and made her way back to the ice. This amazing woman was literally still competing at age 90. 90! That's amazing! Sadly, she passed away on March 2nd, 2016, when she suffered a heart attack out on the ice, doing exactly what she loved most. Carolyn Hartz. It's no secret that there are thousands of women across the globe dreaming of their perfect beach body. But 70-year-old Carolyn Hartz doesn't have to dream about rocking abs or bronzed, smooth skin. She has it. Known by some as the gorgeous grandma, this Australian mother of three made headlines when she claimed that her youthful appearance was mostly due to the sugar-free diet she'd been on for the past 28 years. After being diagnosed with pre-type 2 diabetes, she says that she realized something had to change. She replaced sugar with lots of protein and split her food up into 5 small meals a day. To help her control cravings, she used a sugar substitute called xylitol. She even wrote her own cookbook called The Sweet Life and regularly offers dieting advice to people half her age. To be fair, she has admitted to having some maintenance done, but it isn't clear on what that means. We hope you enjoyed the video. Tell us which person was the most interesting. If you liked the video, then make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when a new video arrives. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.